You are listening to Mindset and Metabolism Mastery, Episode 5. Fat loss. It's about the hormones, not about the calories. When you understand how to flip the lever on your fat storage and fat burning, you have the power to lose weight without going hungry. Let's do this. Welcome to Mindset and Metabolism Mastery, a show for women who are tired of feeling hopeless, defeated, and frustrated with their bodies and want to have more energy to show up every day as the best version of themselves. I'm holistic nutrition consultant Shannon Hagel, and I can help you reprogram your brain to create bulletproof consistency with ease and address your personal hormonal imbalances that are leading to weight gain. Life can feel a whole lot better with a body you love, delicious food, and a little wine. And I'm here to help you get there. Ready to lose weight and feel amazing in your body? Let's dive in. Welcome, friends. What I'm about to say gets me a lot of curious, inquisitive questions from women, but it also gets me a lot of hate from the trolls on the internet. So I may be inviting a whole lot of drama into my life with this episode, but I think that it is such an important discussion to have. And that is, your weight is about the hormones, not about the calories. Now, of course, I'm not claiming that you can eat any volume of food and be at your ideal weight. But the calories are far less important to whether you're gaining fat or losing fat than the hormones. And maybe you're wondering right now, how do I know if my weight gain is a hormonal issue? Well, the fact is that all weight gain is hormonal. You literally cannot store fat, burn fat, or build muscle without hormones being involved in that process. So I'm going to walk you through the main process the body uses to store fat, how to turn fat storage on or off, and the top 3 imbalances that I see in women over 40 that keep your fat storage hormones turned on. All right, ready to stop counting calories? Let's do it. So hormones are little messengers in your body. They tell your body what is happening, what to do, and which functions to turn up or down. And they also work together synergistically, impacting one another. For instance, estrogen and progesterone are kind of like soulmates. They complement each other. They are their best selves when they are together. But when one exists without the other, they become the worst versions of themselves, causing all sorts of symptoms and wreaking havoc. They need each other in order to stay in check. Or take leptin and ghrelin. These are your hunger team. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells you when you are hungry. Leptin tells you that you're full. I like to keep them straight by imagining that ghrelin is the sound that your stomach actually makes when you're hungry. Ghrelin. It's really silly. I know it's stupid, but it helps me to keep them straight. Now, when they are in balance, you greatly reduce your risk of overeating and storing the excess as fat, or undereating and slowing down your metabolic function. So hormones dictate not just the process of how your body stores fat, but also how difficult it will be for you to follow through on the actions that are going to get you there. It is bloody hard to not overeat when you are hungry all of the damn time. So let's look at how your hormones actually create fat storage in the first place. So food is made up of macronutrients, proteins, carbs, fats. Each of these has its own role. So protein is your builder, your repairer. It digests slowly. It helps you renew the cells, tissues, muscles in your body. Carbs are the quick ones. They're like the friend who's always ready to go, instant energy, like jumping out of bed with energy. And fat, well, they are the nutrient-rich marathon runners of the food world. All 3 of these guys are super important. So if any diet ever tells you to cut out one of these macronutrients, you should run, and you should run far and fast. As soon as food enters your mouth, your body starts to break it down into its basic parts and nutrients. Now, you might relate metabolism back to weight gain and weight loss, but it is so much more than that. Your metabolism is actually the chemical process of turning these nutrients into energy for your cells. If your cells are using the energy, then great, it gets used up. But if your cells don't need all that energy in that exact moment, the excess gets turned into fat. I like to think of this process like a delivery company, like UPS. UPS receives a package. It then sends out its UPS drivers to take that package where it needs to go. When everything's running smoothly, there is no problem. But what happens every holiday season, right? There's this sudden influx of packages that need to be delivered. And without more delivery drivers, there's this complete backlog of the system. So protein and fat break down into their basic nutrients slowly. So their release kind of trickled into the system slowly. The UPS drivers have luxurious amounts of times to get these packages where they need to go. Carbohydrates break down much more quickly. So you get this spike of energy or glucose into the system all at once. The UPS system is overwhelmed with these packages, this backlog. So UPS sends out more and more of their delivery drivers, which in this case would be your hormone insulin. It is insulin's job to pick up the package of glucose and deliver it to where it needs to go, which is your cells. The problem is your cells didn't order anything. It does not want to sign for the package. Your delivery driver, insulin, shows up to your cells with the package that nobody wants right now. So now that insulin has to take that package back to UPS and store it. The problem with your body is that it can't store very much glucose. So in order to store it, it needs to turn that package into fat. Now, your UPS driver is not doing this to be a dick. Evolution-wise, this made lots of sense. For hundreds of thousands of years, the biggest threat to your body was food scarcity. And so your body thinks that it is being your best friend. It is helping you and ensuring your survival by packing this fat or really stored food and energy around your body for the next time that there is a famine or food scarcity. Problem is, this famine never really comes. We have this endless supply of food at our fingertips. So insulin is your fat storage hormone. It is the main driver in deciding when to hoard these resources, when to be in that fat storage mode. So if there's any glucose packages in your system, your body will prioritize using that as energy because it is efficient and easy. In order to get into a fat burning state, your insulin levels need to remain low, which means that your glucose stores have to be used up. And when your glucose stores are used up, when your glucose is low, your body will actually introduce your fat burning hormone, which is called glucagon. I know, it's a mouthful. It's a fun word. Glucagon is the opposite of insulin. It takes the stored fat and it turns it into energy when your cells demand it, when they don't actually have access to those quick, accessible glucose stores to fall back on. Now, where your body might be getting into trouble with this is because of the sedentary lives that we live, your body is most likely not getting through your glucose stores fast enough. Plus, there's that endless supply of food at your fingertips that you may keep bumping your body into this fat storage mode even when you are eating healthy food. Now, this is a big reason why I do not recommend that people snack. The 90s advice of the 5 to 6 small meals a day was coming from a very well-meaning place. You guys remember that when we all carried around coolers of food to make sure we were eating every 2 to 3 hours. Now, that advice came from the understanding that if you don't let your blood sugar drop too low, then you avoid cravings and hunger and overeating, and therefore you won't spike your blood sugar levels too high. But what it also does is constantly keeps your insulin engaged. Glucagon never has a chance to turn stored fat into energy because insulin always has a new package to deliver. So how do you keep your glucose stores low without going hungry constantly and needing to snack every 2 to 3 hours? The answer to that is focusing on 3 satisfying, satiating meals of anti-inflammatory fats, fiber-rich vegetables, and clean protein. Most women especially are so focused on the calories that they actually eat very low caloric food that isn't giving them enough of these satiating macronutrients that you need to keep that leptin and ghrelin balanced so you're not feeling those hunger and craving cues every couple hours. Making sure your plate is filled with these fat, fiber, protein-rich foods will also ensure lots of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that your body needs to function optimally, that your metabolism needs to function optimally while slowing down those glucose spikes. So by understanding this process of how your body moves from fat storage into fat burning, you can better equip yourself to be in control of that lever. There's no need to undereat in order to turn that fat burning on. We just need to make sure that we're not spiking those glucose levels so high that our body can't access glucagon. Now let's take this into real life practice. How do you make sure that you're doing that? Well, the 2 simplest and most powerful ways to turn off your fat storage and turn on your fat burning is not that calorie restriction or intense hour-long workout sessions. It's focusing on nourishing, filling, nutrient-dense foods that are going to have less impact on your blood sugar. So like I said, those healthy anti-inflammatory fats, clean protein, and fiber-rich vegetables are going to be your power foods for this. So focus the majority of what you eat on those. That doesn't mean you can't eat anything else, but that is what we want our main focus to be. And the second most powerful way to turn off your fat storage is moving your body more throughout the entire day. Daily movement is far more important and more effective than concentrated bursts in an otherwise sedentary day. Right? Your Apple Watch is actually onto something when it tells you to get up and walk around every hour. Upping your movement throughout the day, especially after a meal, can help your body use up those glucose stores in your system so that it doesn't get stored as fat, so that it can trigger your glucagon and put you into that fat burning sooner. This might look like going for a couple short walks throughout the day, or just walking to the water cooler more often, or even getting up from your desk and doing 10 lunges every hour. It doesn't have to be a major time commitment. It can be very simple. Okay, so that's the main process that your body uses to burn fat and store fat. Now I want to focus on the 3 imbalances that I see with women over 40 that greatly impact this process, pushing you into that fat storage mode even when your nutrition might be on point. I know a lot of you are in this situation where you feel like you're doing the right thing. Maybe you are filling your plate with healthy anti-inflammatory fats, clean protein, and fiber-rich vegetables. You're moving your body throughout the day and you're like, okay, great, thanks for the advice, but that's not working. When the foundational things are no longer working, it's because there's something deeper going on. So the 3 imbalances that I see impacting this process most often, especially for women over 40, is first, estrogen. Estrogen contributes to over 400 functions in the body. When I mentioned earlier that hormones dictate everything that happens in your body, I meant it. You might relate specific hormones to one role or one task that you know it best for. But these hormones are not one-dimensional heroines in a rom-com. They are super complex. They are overachievers. So one of estrogen's roles is to help regulate blood sugar by making your body more responsive to insulin, which means when you have optimal levels of estrogen, your body needs less insulin to move those packages. Less insulin, less fat storage. This is why you may be doing nothing different with your diet or exercise than you were 5 years ago, but now the weight is packing on the pounds. As you move towards your 40s and beyond, your estrogen levels start to drop, meaning your insulin will be less effective, requiring more of those delivery drivers to get the job done. More insulin, more fat storage. Now, I dive even deeper into this process in episode 2, so make sure to check that out. The second imbalance that I see is cortisol, your stress hormone. This hormone also contributes to the regulation of blood sugar. It also impacts digestion and it assists with the metabolization of your food, which is a fancy way of saying it helps to break down that food into those basic nutrients. So when your cortisol rises, the body believes there is a threat. It messages the nervous system to move into a fight or flight response in order to save you from whatever that threat is. Your body cannot tell the difference between an actual physical threat or a perceived threat, so a mental, emotional one. Now, since the body is preparing for this epic battle or to run for dear life, it needs resources. But using fat to fuel your energy is too much work and too slow in this urgent situation. It takes longer and uses more resources to turn fat into energy. So cortisol does 2 things. First, it pulls the little bit of sugar that your body does store in your muscles and liver for that quick, easy access energy, which spikes your blood sugar levels. And it also impairs insulin sensitivity. So your body actually needs more of this fat storage hormone in order to get the job done. So even if you haven't been mowing down on chips and chocolate, your blood sugar and your fat storage potential are driven up by this hormonal imbalance of cortisol. And stress fat loves to sit right around your midsection, right around your belly, building that spare tire. Now, the third imbalance that I see most often in women over 40 is chronic low-grade inflammation. So inflammation sends out alarm signals. Imagine your body's immune system is like a security system. Inflammation is like the alarm that is going off, telling the body, like, warning, something is wrong here. Chronic low-grade inflammation means the alarm is constantly turned on, just not very loud. But can you imagine like hearing a car alarm go off constantly in the background of your brain nonstop? Insulin is the key that helps glucose get into the cells from the blood. Now, this is really important because cells need glucose for energy. Inflammation jams the lock. The key of insulin doesn't fit as well anymore. This is where we start to see insulin resistance. The sugar can't get into the cell as easily, so it stays in the blood. So the body reacts by making more keys, more insulin. The body notices the sugar isn't getting into the cells, so it makes more of those insulin keys trying to overcome the problem. But if the locks are jammed, the keys don't really help. Chronic low-grade inflammation is going to cause this fat storage because the sugar has to go somewhere. Since the sugar can't get into the cells as it should, the body needs to do something with it. It starts to store more and more and more of that sugar as fat. So if you're asking yourself, well, how do I know if my body's in this chronic state of inflammation? Here are some of the top culprits that I see driving women into this state. Poor diet, right? Eating highly processed foods, even quote unquote healthy foods, but are in processed states. Sugars, unhealthy or rancid fats is a really big one. Low-grade fats. These foods are low in essential nutrients and contribute to that inflammation. Hormonal changes, like we talked about earlier, as we age, particularly during perimenopause and menopause, hormonal fluctuations occur. Those changes in estrogen and other hormones influence inflammatory processes in the body. Chronic stress, just like I mentioned with the cortisol imbalance, also contributes to inflammation. So it's a double whammy. Having a sedentary lifestyle, gut health issues. So we can see this in a number of ways. We can see it as an imbalanced gut microbiome, which is very common, especially after the couple years we just went through with everyone using so much hand sanitizers on everything. This can also come up from eating foods that our body is sensitive to, or just having an overburdened digestive system that can't keep up. Another cause of low-grade inflammation is poor quality or insufficient sleep. Now, this disrupts the body's normal processes, leading to increased inflammation. It can't repair and rebuild during sleep when our sleep is disrupted. Now, this one's really big for my night shift workers, for my moms with young babes, and for women whose sleep has been disrupted by perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. Environmental toxins. This is becoming more and more and more prevalent every single year as toxins in our water supply, air supply, and in the products that we use in our homes and on our skins expose us to more and more chemical toxins. Chronic infections. So these low-grade level infections, viruses, those can cause inflammation, autoimmune conditions, and then excess body fat itself produces inflammation. And the last one I see that is really common is alcohol, smoking, and medications. Even prescription medications can cause this low-grade inflammation because the body has to process it. Now, I am not suggesting you drop all of your medications, especially ones that are prescribed by a doctor, but definitely to be working towards healing your body so you can reduce the amounts or the levels of medications you're using where possible is a very good goal to have. So to recap, the main process that the body uses to store fat is this balance between blood sugar, insulin, and glucagon. When our blood sugar levels are high, we need more of our fat storage hormone in order to get the job done. But if the cells do not need that energy in that exact moment, it's going to get stored as fat. When the glucose stores are used up in the body, that's when the body can flip into the fat burning mode where it accesses glucagon to actually turn the stored fat in our body into energy for the cells. So focusing on supporting your body's blood sugar is a huge, huge important part of this process of being in a fat burning mode. Things outside of food, though, impact this process as well. Changing sex hormones, stress response, inflammation are the big ticket ones. Now, you can take control. Starting with mindful eating, focusing on foods that stabilize your blood sugar. Remember, think rich, fibrous vegetables, healthy fats, and clean proteins as the majority of your food intake, and moving your body throughout the day. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. So every small change does count. If you're already doing these things and still struggling, it is time to look deeper. It is time to look at those deep-rooted imbalances that impact your fat storage even when your nutrition is on point. This is why I do symptom mapping for weight loss with all of my clients. So we can really drill down into what imbalances are in your body that are causing this system to go haywire and stay in that fat storage mode. When the foundational things aren't working, it's time to start working with a practitioner who can focus on your unique body and get to the root of the problem. With every symptom that you experience, whether it be weight gain, weight loss resistance, belly fat storage, fatigue, cravings, heavy periods, low libido, 3 a.m. wake ups, There is always a reason for why it is happening. And when you uncover the why, you can uncover the how. I will see you in next week's episode where we focus on what to do when you do fall off track. You have a beautiful rest of your day. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to worry about missing an episode, you can follow the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could share the podcast with others who you think might benefit from it and leave a rating and review to let me know what you think. It doesn't have to be a 5-star rating, although I sure hope that you love the show. I want your honest feedback so I can create an awesome podcast that provides tons of value. Visit www.thrivefromtheinside.com/podcast launch for step-by-step instructions on how to follow, rate, and review. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Mindset and Metabolism Mastery. If you want to learn more about balancing your hormones, repairing your metabolism, and losing weight with empowerment and ease, visit www.thrivefromtheinside.com. I'll see you next time.